Hi friends, welcome to this new episode of A Digital Tomorrow. Today I'm joined by Medhy Souidi. Welcome Medhy.
Thank you very much for having me today.
It's my pleasure to have you today in my show. And well, for those of you who might not know Medhy yet, even though he's a very well known voice within the fintech industry, Medhy is currently the head of FinTech and startup exchange at DBS Bank in Hong Kong. He's also board member of the FinTech Association of Hong Kong and founder and producer of What the FinTech. He was named, for example, in 2020 as a FinTech Changemaker of the Year by Asian Private Banker. Also as Gen T Leaders of Tomorrow 2020 by Tatler and Community Builders and FinTech Influencer by several media. So once again, Medhy, welcome to my show.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to start maybe by talking a bit about your personal journey, which I just summarized your biography, but I would like to hear a bit more about you from your journey, because, well, you transitioned from traditional finance to fintech, becoming, as I said, one of the most relevant fintech voices in not just in Hong Kong, but in the whole of Asia, at least. No, so could you please tell the listeners a bit more about your personal journey? Why did you decide to enter the fintech world?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for having me here today and for the questions. And very nice intro. Thanks. So basically, I started as a banker. So I worked after my master's degrees in France, and I went to Canada, and I came in Hong Kong. When I came in Hong Kong, I was a private banker. So I was working on the investment solutions for high net worth individual. I was supporting ARMs, doing some research on the structured product and after these funds and what we call DPM, discretionary portfolio management. I worked for 2 years here, and during those 2 years with the private banking, I felt that the bank was not catching what's happening every day in terms of innovation, new product, new workflow, new process that we can find on our daily life. So for example, like right now, you can use Netflix every day or Spotify every day and have on-demand music or on-demand movies. You have the same with now all this hardware at home. You have like a vacuum robot. You can just use your phone and just send them everywhere to start to clean to the flat before you come back, or even program them every day at the same time slot to come and clean the flat. And I was thinking, why? Like people are using finance on like regular basis to make more investments and make more revenue, different revenue streams, but they cannot use those kind of tools. And it's when I start really to look at what was happening in the market in terms of not only using Excel and VBA formulas, but do we have AI applying to investments such as robot advisory? Do we have other alternative way to make some investment, for example, for startups or to create like some fund crowdfunding for companies, but not really fund crowdfunding, but fundraising. So I start to look at the market and I was like, wow, there's a couple of things really interesting. And in the same time, the ecosystem was really nascent in Hong Kong. So we had a couple of startups starting here, the first accelerator taking off in Hong Kong. So I was just curious. After 2 years of work, I just quit my job and I went to those events where I met a lot of entrepreneurs. And, you know, when you met the entrepreneurs, you have like the sparks in the eyes. Everything looks colorful. Everything looks like pretty new. Every day you learn a lot. And it's when I start my journey on the fintech. So from going to events and creating a networking there, I start to work for some startups as a consultant, or maybe sometimes as just a contractor for like some small missions about research, about like working on a product, helping to review some notes or create like some of the white paper for them. And then I start to work for startups for a long time. And from a startup, I went to another one, and I joined DBS 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. And
thank you.
There is one area where many people put their focus on, and that area is that of the relationship between fintech firms and incumbents, incumbent banks, etc., to the point that some people used to say that there is a competition between both, even though I personally think that rather than competition, we should be thinking of cooperation. The thing is, though, you are working as head of fintech for an incumbent bank. So in general, could you please tell our listeners a bit more about your tasks, or what does a head of fintech of an incumbent bank do?
Okay, so basically there's two things we can split in two parts. First part was to manage an accelerator named Startup Exchange. So this one is really to look at startups on the market and new technology, sometimes new workflow for improving the customer journey or employee journey of a bank, because we want to take care also of the employees inside the bank. Some of the processes are still a lot of like really manual, where you have a lot of input to do, especially on Excel and different documents. But sometimes company comes has a B2B supplier to provide really some solutions for the bankers to evolve the workflow, use new way to collaborate with technology. For example, how to reduce like 50 manual inputs to only 3. How to catch some information using AI technology such as OCR or NLP to have the right information, put it at the right place on the new format for the bankers, especially for like compliance, risk management, or sometimes audit. So really, I'm looking from business perspective, and also I want to say employee struggles at the different problem segment from the bankers, and I look at the market if I find some companies looking and delivering some of the solutions for those problems. So really, it's an overview of a solution on the market where I can bring the right startups with the right solutions to the right team in DBS and see if there is a match or not. And after this, we work on a proof of concept for like 4 to 6 weeks. Second part of my job is really to look at how we can increase customers at DBS purely online. So no paper and no human interaction if it's possible, but purely online. How we can improve the revenue of the bank with digital channels, such as API, new product, loyalty programs, everything related to B2B and B2C for banks, but purely online with or a computer or a tablet or a phone. And the third one is how we can co-create solutions with some of the companies on the market, because some of the solutions can be really good for our customers. So we can introduce them to them as a B2C or as a B2B, but also how we can collaborate with them to really enjoy the flow of a transaction with them. So it can be have referral from a partner, what we call ecosystem partners, to come to DBS as a customers, but also leverage on the technology we have developed with the company to really enjoy the flow of money later on. So the impact is really on the balance sheets at the end. So we want to have the best leads digitally and bring value for the bank.
Mm-hmm. I see. Well, I mean, those are very interesting initiatives and tasks. And I mean, to the point that to me, DBS is undoubtedly one of the most active banks in the fintech area, in general, to the point that, for example, it created this DBS Digital Exchange. Could you please share with our listeners like a very rough idea of what DBS Digital Exchange is?
Yeah, I just want to add just one thing that I didn't share with you before. The thing of like being so innovative and targeting like startups, but also like the digital exchange of cryptocurrencies is really to create a scalability for us. So we don't want to go for a customer to another customer and have one-on-one relationship, but mostly how we can have multiple customers coming to us and reply to their needs. So for the digital exchange, it's mostly a crypto asset exchange done by DBS and approved by the Monetary Authority of Singapore last year. The goal here is really to support institutional and some of our like high net worth individual customers, mostly investors, to purchase or to sell some cryptocurrencies. At this moment, there is like 4 cryptocurrencies we can buy and sell: is Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, and Ethereum. The offer of DBS is really to provide liquidity if like our customers or our corporate wants to sell it, but mostly in the Asian market. So mostly has a fiat currency of one of the big Asian country, Hong Kong dollars, Singapore dollars, or others.
Mm-hmm. Thank you again for sharing. And well, I mean, I imagine that for an incumbent or for a traditional company, tapping into new technologies, or for example, now we were talking about cryptos, it must be challenging to some point. So what do you think are like the main challenges faced by incumbents and more traditional companies when embracing new technologies, and what skills maybe are like necessary in order to succeed in those technologies?
So one of the big things is it's not like banks or big companies doesn't want to innovate or adopt new technologies. I think most of them will survive, even with the crypto coming, the new technology, blockchain. I know some of the entrepreneurs in the world are super bullish and like to share like some of the thoughts really aggressively. But the thing is, banks has a supply company for water, electricity, food and beverage. We are highly regulated. So what means being highly regulated is means that the governments and some governments bodies are looking at those companies to provide security to their citizens. So like every bank in the world has a minimum amount guarantees about the savings that you have with them. So for example, in Europe or here in Hong Kong, it should be around like 60 to 80,000 USD. So when you put your money with the bank, you assure at the end, if there is a crash, a bankruptcy or something like this happening, that you will have at least guaranteed by the government, at least 70 or 80,000 USD, right? Mm-hmm. So using technologies is really interesting, but we have to be sure that all the employees of all the companies using new technology understand the risk of using the technology. For example, when we speak about AI and machine learning, there is always someone programming the code there on that kind of not how can I say that, like when you program the code is directly into the core of the software of the tool that you want to create. But the developers may think about a way to create that code, but it can be biased with the time. Like you think that like maybe some of the rules are true today, but maybe with the evolution of the market tomorrow, it can be wrong. So how we can make sure that everyone can understand the code, how we can make sure that everyone's understand the product, how we can make sure that the final customers is aware about the risk and safe when he makes a decision to use that robo-advisor or new solutions or maybe sometimes a crypto. That's the job of the banks. That's the job of all the big companies regulated. It's not only like a financial institution. It can be all those companies that you are thinking every day. And especially because big banks has a bring like that strong, powerful branding, right? Everyone's know banks, like they know Coca-Cola and McDonald's. They have to be sure that they can deliver the best services every day, even if sometimes some services can be frustrating for the customers. But new technology cannot come and just change everything and make people taking risks for nothing just because they want to adopt a new technology. So every time it's about like which technology is the right one to solve some issues, which technology is the right channel to use to deliver the right message about the risk, about everything new about the product and the workflow, but also about taking care of the customers and employees and how we can manage all those risks together. How we can manage all those risks all together with a government, with like audit companies, and with the citizen to have like a kind of a circle who is really fair for everyone.
Mm-hmm. I actually agree with your approach. I think it's not just about using technologies per se, but it's also about knowing which one to use and when, and assessing the risks in advance. And I say that because I know that sometimes certain companies may think it's fancy to say that they are using, let's say, blockchain or artificial intelligence, but it might not be useful for them to do so. So I think it depends. It needs to be assessed like on a case-by-case basis. After assessing the risks, it requires an effort before actually implementing and starting to use a certain technology.
Definitely, and sometimes innovation or what we call innovation or new technology can just be a change of the user journey of the customers. How we can make like something like, when you open a bank account, maybe you have 55 clicks, how we can decrease from 55 clicks to 20 clicks only. And this can change the way of using technologies, using UI, UX for customers, and also improve the quality of information we can receive from the customers, but also support him to just become a new customers of your company. For example, nobody will send a phone to open a bank account or open an account with Netflix for 50 minutes or for 30 minutes, but how can we like decrease all the steps to just have like a 5-minute journey for everyone to open a bank account, for deposit, how we can subscribe to Netflix or Disney Plus in 1 or 2 minutes just with like some information in the payment.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And then there is one more project aside from DBS about which I wanted to ask you. I've actually been following it for a while now. It's called What the FinTech. It's a project that you started through which you create great videos on FinTech and innovation for everyone, for a wide audience. So I wanted to ask you, like, what made you decide to start this project, and also what makes this project like, well, different from other projects available? No, so if you could share this with our listeners, because
Oh,
as I said, it's a very interesting project, and I follow it very well, closely.
thank you very much. So the idea of what the fintech was in my mind for like a couple of years already. I think when I start to follow fintechs and crypto in 2016, I was really into it, and I was like, oh, I would like to share the knowledge with everyone, but I didn't want to put myself on the video every time. So I did like a couple of I did maybe 15 kind of different formats at the beginning, really to try it, and I was never satisfied with it. So I was like, why not going for something really short, with entrepreneurs coming and speaking directly in front of the camera? So that's what I went for. So there is some like similar formats for I want to say like urban cultures or like music in Europe, for example. And I was really inspired by them to do like a kind of a really small videos that people can watch on the subway, MTR, in a bus, or when they go to the office and they have like maybe 5 minutes when they smoke a cigarette. So it was really to come to Hong Kong entrepreneurs mostly, because COVID hit Hong Kong and the rest of the world at that time. But when they can share about the story, what they're doing, what they're delivering, and what is the key message that they want to share with people about their companies. And also, I have a newsletter that I started a year and a half ago, I think, where I try to summarize every week what happened during the week in Asia mostly, and also sometimes on the blockchain, crypto, metaverse, DeFi. Especially, I try to have that focus in Asia, where we can see what are the information in Hong Kong, Singapore, China, and the rest of Asia. So it's something that I really like to do. I don't know how is it different from from the other project, because I think I put a lot of myself into it. So you follow kind of my personality there.
Mhm.
But for your information, I will change the format of what the fintech soon, where we have longer interviews as well, everything on live streaming. And I want to create kind of a talk show. So you will see soon, where I will have like 3 to 4 speakers every week on the same time slot, on the same day, on the multiple channels such as YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm looking forward to that, and I can say that your videos are very useful. I remember last year, for example, you prepared some videos and reports on NFTs, for example, and whenever people ask me about what NFTs are, what they are not, I normally refer them to your videos, no, because I
Oh,
know
thank
that
you very much. We
no,
appreciate it.
no, I mean, because they are good for real. I mean, there's plenty of information available online, but then when you start like digging deeper, it's like you may find like inaccurate information, or sometimes videos that are too long, no, because people don't need like an 80-minute video to understand what an NFT is. So I thought that your format was actually very, well, very catchy, very attractive for people.
Thank you very much.
No, I mean, it's my pleasure. And well, now I would like to talk a bit about fintech in Hong Kong and then cryptos. We are like halfway our conversation, but well, I mean, focusing on Hong Kong, I mentioned before that you are a board member at the FinTech Association of Hong Kong. So, and you are of course very involved in Hong Kong's fintech ecosystem. So, I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think about Hong Kong's fintech scene when it comes to its strengths, opportunities? What Hong Kong is doing better than other financial centers?
For me, Hong Kong is mostly a B2B platform for companies and fintechs, with a huge influence from China, especially right now when we speak about NFT and crypto. They follow really the regulation from China. But in terms of place, Hong Kong is really specific because it's a kind of a big island, I want to say. It's really at the south of China with a big border. We cannot go to China like this right now with the COVID because the two countries are closed. But the thing is, most of the banks and financial institutions are based in Hong Kong, in Asia. So when you want to start a product, you have only 7 million of people. So you cannot go really for mass market solutions, except if you are super successful. But we have seen from the different fintechs that B2C is not the main target for the companies, and it make B2C is also like cash burning. So you need to have a lot of advertising to really be successful on this one. When B2B, you can just have like a couple of customers and you can already break even. So if you have a right solution for banks, for an insurance, for financial institutions, and you can have like 1, 2, 3 customers, you can already like pay the bills, pay your salaries, and sometimes break even and make some benefits already. So companies in Hong Kong that are successful are mostly companies who can deliver comprehensive tools for B2B. Sometimes connectivity is not that difficult with the architecture of the bank, and they are mostly cloud solutions. So if you have a cloud solution, you're based on Amazon, your solutions is proven in Hong Kong, you can use it. After this, each market is really specific, especially in Asia. When Singapore has his own market, Vietnam has another market, and Hong Kong has another one. So it's really sometimes tricky to really deep dive between different countries for the same solutions. You need to apply to different regulation. You need to apply to different user journey. You need to apply also to different kind of population, because Hong Kong has no people looking for being bank, but I'm thinking they are just underserved in terms of banking services, especially for SMEs right now.
Mm-hmm. No, and I agree. Besides, each region or city like caters to a different market. Like point, for example, Singapore could be seen as the gateway to the ASEAN region, or Indonesia, Malaysia, whereas Hong Kong has been for years the gateway to China. Even though, well, I mean, according to some people, this role may be diminishing, but it's on the other hand, well, enhancing its role as part of the GBA. So that's why I wanted to ask you about the Greater Bay Area, the GBA blueprint. Why do you think the GBA can be important for Hong Kong's future, and how can Hong Kong and its fintech companies leverage the GBA to allow Hong Kong to not just to retain its role as one of the most important financial centers in the world, but even to enhance it?
So Hong Kong has started the connection with China for a couple of times, especially on capital markets. You have like the stock connect between Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong. You have also the bond connect between Shanghai and Shenzhen and Hong Kong. Now we have the wealth connect, where we can catch some capitals from individuals from Greater Bay Area to Hong Kong as well. So the connectivity will be stronger and stronger as the different initiatives start by the HKMA, but also the regulators in GBA, so from Guangzhou or from Shenzhen, are really aligned with the strategy of China to merge with Hong Kong later on, because Hong Kong has 25 years in front of them, still has an independent city, but they will join the system of China soon. Also, from 7 million people, you go to a market of 70 million of people with the GBA, and you can have a lot of multiple interactions. Second thing is Hong Kong is maybe the financial capital here, but when you look at the technology and developers, most of them are based in Shenzhen. So a lot of companies having headquarters in Hong Kong have a big team in Shenzhen in terms of project manager, developers, full stack developers, and people taking care of the quality of the application, for example. Where Hong Kong will be mostly business development and some marketing.
Yes, indeed. I mean, each city is going to leverage its strength, in the GBA in order to add more value. I mean, it's undoubtedly that Hong Kong can leverage its financial prowess, whereas, for example, Shenzhen can add some other things to the table, such as its maybe more like orientation towards tech.
And if you look at other industries such as hardware, I don't know, like every kind of industries, companies have one office in Hong Kong, but most of the team are in China. For example, for like furnitures, for like accessories for the kitchen, for everything related to TV or living rooms, you have sometimes like one shop with like 2-3 men in Hong Kong, but most of the things are in China. So basically, in terms of fintech startups, you follow the same trends.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree. I experienced that myself in Hong Kong as well. I used to work for a mainland China-based company. It was exactly like that, the idea, before like a few years ago. And well, now, moving forward, I wanted to talk, of course, about cryptocurrencies. We surely mentioned this before when talking about DBS Exchange. So I wanted to ask you now about, cryptos in general. I mean, given the rising importance of cryptocurrencies, do you think that cryptos will play an important role in the future of banking, or even virtual banking? I mean, in other words, do you think it's going to become like more and more common to see banks and virtual banks allowing its customers to buy and sell cryptos, withdraw, save, invest, exchange, etc.?
Good questions. It's a very good question. I want to say that I believe that banks won't be overcome by any new technologies, because every time there is a new trend, banks are super proactive on it. We can see that some banks already like working on a metaverse project. In DBS, we have like also a few working groups on metaverse, for example, but you can see from information on the news that banks are already like looking on it or investing on it. Same for NFTs. We saw that Visa was one of the first to buy like the Bored Ape NFTs or the CryptoPunk NFTs at that time. So all those companies are really looking at what is happening on the crypto side, on the blockchain, NFT, metaverse. I'm sure in the future, some of the best practice of the crypto or NFTs can be applied to some of the product of the bank. If you speak purely about crypto investments, this will be done by regulation. In China, we have seen multiple ban and unban of crypto, but like for a long time now, they have a really pretty strong ban on crypto. So I think Hong Kong will have to follow China in a couple of months or years, where some of the maybe markets will allow crypto to be really a financial assets for those banks. But at this moment, we didn't see for mass market applications this happening. I'm not sure it will happen soon or not, because for the financial product that we have, most of the time we have a contract, such as when you buy an equity or share, you sign a contract with a company because you have a part of the company becoming one of your assets, and you have a right to vote during like the General Assembly once a year, right? And you can have dividend as well if the company is performing some benefits and they want to give to the investors rewards for investing on the company, trusting the company, and putting some money there. For crypto, it's totally different. Some of the projects are really scam, and everyone's know about it. Some of the projects are really legit, but what will be the application? Every year, the applications change a bit. Nobody spoke about NFT 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, but since 1 year, it's a really big topic, and the market went like to the roof, or even like sky is the limit for the NFT this year. But I mean, I don't know what will be the big product on crypto this year. Will it be maybe a card adoption for payment with cryptocurrencies? Will it be something related to metaverse? Will it be maybe another crash on crypto and the value is decreasing by 50%? We don't really know.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it's complicated, to know. It's a thriving area, and there are like so many open like topics. It's not just cryptos, right? It's as you said before, NFTs, the metaverse, anything related to Web 3.0. So it's really hard to catch up sometimes, and to know for sure which area is going to thrive more than the other in the coming months.
And everyone looks at the project. Everyone, I think, wants to have like project who makes sense in their life. So you have multiple people sharing about NFT, crypto, metaverse right now. But yeah, what I can say is like all the big companies are looking at it. Some of the company invest already on it or try some proof of concept or MVP or just the marketing. They won't be overcome by those solutions. They will be adopted by those companies. What can be really interesting in the future is to see a crypto bank or crypto company acquiring a bank somewhere. It can be on the emerging market. It can be a small bank somewhere in Europe or US, but this can be happening soon. And it will be really interesting to see what will, from that merger and acquisition, what will happen in the future.
No, of course, that will be very interesting. And as you said now, I'm sure that this will happen like sometime. I guess soon. And well, before wrapping our discussion up, I wanted to ask you like maybe a more general question, and I know it's very general. I'm not just talking about DBS. I'm not just talking about cryptos. No, the thing is, how do you foresee the future of banking and finance? It's an open question. It's very general, I know.
Yeah, good question. What is exciting about open banking and open finance is like to have multiple applications who support you to understand your spending in terms of consumers, I want to say. So for example, if you have bank with bank A, B, C, D, E, how you can collect all your data on one app and know where you have savings, where you have loans, where you need to pay, where you need to receive money. This is really something interesting. I'm really interested about lifestyles application and finance. So to support you to create some of financial independence, creating multiple stream of revenue, because I think is where like people are still struggle now to see where they need to invest, how they can invest, what is the right amount to invest based on their different revenue and source of deposit or loans, for example. So this is something that I'm looking really forward. In terms of corporate banking, right now, also SMEs using cloud solutions doesn't have like a full picture of what they have. What will be interesting from the bank is to connect with different cloud accounting software to receive information about the future future revenue of the company and expenses of the company, where they can see from the deposit that they have right now on the bank account if the company will need more support in the future or not. We don't know. Maybe they will have like some issues to pay the salaries in the future. So it would be great to come to these companies and say, hey, look, we saw your financial, we saw your expectations, revenue and expectations, expenses. But from what you can see, you will have like struggle to pay the salary of your employees. Maybe we can support you with 6 months loans for payroll. It can be a good one. Or maybe if a company want to open, like a restaurant company want to open a new restaurant and they're facing some difficulties, maybe they can come with all their financial data to the bank and have a better loan than they could have. Maybe they could be refused for the loan, but with all those data they can share with the bank, it can be very interesting for the bank to say, okay, we can see where you are going, where you are struggling. Maybe you need to fix that issue A and B before you come back to us. And when it's fixed, we can give you the loan. So really open banking, open finance is interesting because there is an integration of data from multiple parties, banks, software, aggregators of credit cards, for example, to one marketplace where you can have all this data, you can share it with the right persons and have access to maybe some of the services you could not have before. So I think it will solve a lot of issues about under banking services, SMEs or companies.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing. It looks like fascinating as well. I think actually the next few years will be fascinating, not just for cryptocurrencies and newer technologies, but well, also for banking, because as you said, there's plenty of room for finance and banking to evolve, to offer new products. And well, we need to try to stay alert and see how everything evolves.
Yes, definitely. And the thing is, it's an exciting period because there is a lot of change coming. So the way that we are working are evolving. And also, if you are working for a big company, you still have that big trunk of how to manage people, how to lead people, how to collaborate with people and bring the best of them now with new tools. So this is still interesting, I think.
I fully agree. And well, I mean, I'm sorry to say that we are running out of time and well, we should put an end to our very interesting discussion. It's been an absolute pleasure, Medhy, to share this half hour ish with you to be able to talk about well, about your journey, DBS, FinTech in Hong Kong, new technologies in banking, the future of banking, all these amazing and fascinating topics. So thank you very much for accepting my invite and for well, being here today.
Thank you for having me and thank you for the invitation. I really enjoy it.
It's been my pleasure. And well, to all my listeners, thank you very much for following my podcast and stay tuned for the next episodes. Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you.